Hello, my name is Mark Poshetek, and in this video today I want to share something very special to my heart with you. Some of you already knows it because I shared it already, but for most of you this is something very new. So for the last couple of weeks, like month or something, or even 2 months, together with Daniel Laskevitz, I was involved in a community project at Microsoft. Our supervisors were Lan Lee and Ken Ware, and plus we had a team of very knowledgeable and skilled Microsoft employees. And we were cooking something together, very important, something desired that the community was missing for like half a year already. Now, do you know what can that be? All right, let me just give you one more hint. In November 2019, during Microsoft Ignite, Satya Nadella came up and said, hey, we are going to have a new tool in the Power Platform that is called UI Flows. And then in April 2020, the UI Flows hit its general availability, and now you should know what I'm talking about. Yes, all right, so then one more hint. Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, these tools already have that. There was just RPA that didn't. And now you're right, that is RPA in a day training. So I'm really happy to announce that we have completed the work, that it's now already available. You can download it, you can go through, you can work with it, you can play with that. So I'm happy to announce that RPA in a day training is now officially available for you as a community to use. So if you go to ak.ms/RPA in a day package, you'll start downloading quite a large zip file with all the contents of the RPA in a day training. So let me just go briefly through what it contains. So once you unzip it, you'll see that there are two folders. The first one is Students Package, the second one is Trainers Package. Now, obviously, we all know what is for whom. So let's start with Students Package. In Student Package, the first folder contains all the data files that you will be using, or maybe not you, but your students will be using during the labs to complete the scenarios that we have described. So here you can find a data to train and build the AI Builder model to recognize invoices. Then you can as well find a scanned invoice that you will be using in the scenarios where we want just to recognize data from invoice and then use the RPA to actually store the information in the legacy application. Now, speaking about the legacy application, here it is as well. It is called the Contoso Invoicing, and it looks like that. So if you have ever attended any kind of a RPA session already that I've been, for example, delivering, then you are already familiar with this interface, because this is our tool that we are using to showcase how we can actually use the old legacy applications in our modern Power Automate based workflows using UI Flows. So this is the Contoso Invoicing. Now there's another thing that I'm really proud of, or maybe not very proud, but I'm really happy that I was able to convince the team that it is really a valuable thing to as well put this kind of technology in our scenarios. And it's called, yes, you're right, Adaptive Cards. So in lab number 7, we have two options. We can either go in the standard training, or we can go into what is called an advanced training. And in this advanced training, what we are doing, we are simply using this adaptive card that looks maybe not very fancy, but I like it. This is the adaptive card. And then students are asked to simply replace those values between hashes with the outcomes of previous actions, and simply then to use action that is called post an adaptive card to Microsoft Teams channel and wait for the response. So one of the as well latest additions to Power Automate set of Microsoft Teams actions. So that's also cool. Then for lab number 8, we have an Excel file that is being used in scenarios around twin automation. And then in lab number 10, we again have the scanned invoices that we can use to showcase how the unattended RPA actually is working. So how we can extend the workload across multiple bots that are just working in the same cluster being orchestrated by the Azure Gateway. Fine. Now let's move on to lab manuals in PDF. So here you can find actually a set of PDF files which are actually just instructions, very detailed instructions that will help students to go step by step to complete each described scenario. The first 3 files, however, are called the prerequisites. Our advice is that you can do the labs in 2 ways. So first one is you ask students to bring their own devices. The second one, you set up virtual desktops for them. If you expect them to bring their own devices, we recommend that they are not using their own work or school accounts, because usually they don't have an access to licenses. Sometimes it's really hard to get something on ad hoc from their administrators. So if they're missing a license or if they're missing some kind of a configuration, then they might not get it before the labs is over. And so we recommend simply to set up their own demo tenant, to set up their default environment and work in there. Now the second thing is about the browser profile. That's the lab number 1.2. It's also important because if your students do have already work or school account, they are usually using it in their default profile in the browser. They have their sessions, stored passwords, and a lot of things that just don't want to lose. And so for this purpose, we recommend them to simply set up a second browser profile, let it be Edge or Chrome, and then to use this second browser profile to go through to execute the labs. And now prerequisite lab number 1.3 is actually about the installation of the required software. Now here I again must do a small stop and advise you that don't download all the installers to kind of like shared service, shared disk or your OneDrive, and then simply share those with your students, because these files, those applications are changing maybe not dramatic, but rapidly. They're really changing fast. So if you save an installer and it's now already like month old, then it might already lead you into issues that if you downloaded and installed the latest version, you wouldn't even see. So our advice here is that you're always using the latest available versions of UI flows, Win Automation, Selenium IDE, and on-premises data gateway. All right, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so let me just show you one of the examples. So let's just jump to, for example, the RPA in a day. That's the lab number 7. So you can see that its layout is very, well, you will see that the layout of each lab is very, very similar, is very consistent. So first you have the title, the description, what it's all about, the preferred or expected duration, and then after the disclaimers, you always find the overview. So what we will be doing during these labs, and what are its prerequisites, right? So what you have to first accomplish to be able to deliver these labs or to complete the labs. And then once you go through the lab, you can just see that these are really a very detailed step-by-step instructions on where to click, what to type in, what to copy, what to paste for every step that we expect students to follow. So that's a very, very detailed. And as we made those dry runs and tests with Microsoft internal employees, we got the feedback that they are very understandable and easy to read. So we really hope, I really hope that your student will be on that side as well. Now, the second thing that I want to underline and encourage you is that you acknowledge who your audience is. Are there very skilled and experts, technological people, or maybe these are just beginners that are starting or doing their first steps with RPA, with any kind of these no-code technologies. If this is the first thing, you can just easily put all the labs into the bucket. So you can just go through all the labs and simply cover the whole scenario, whole the scope. However, if your audience is more on a beginner level, then we advise you to maybe rethink if all the labs are really necessarily needed by them. So for example, you can just do labs from 2 to 7 to show your students what is UI flows, how it works, to show them the whole end-to-end scenario, so they have a big picture at least on how this tool can be used. And they are taught about the desktop automation. Now, if you want to go a step further, you can take as well labs number 9, so that you'll be able to learn them how to use UI flows for the browser automation, how to use Selenium IDE. Now, if you want to go even one step further, then just take labs number 8, which is all about Win Automation, how to use Win Automation, how to build processes in Win Automation, how to install it, how to automate both desktop and the browser processes. plus how to integrate with automation with UI flows. And then if you want to as well show the unattended RPA scenarios, there are labs number 10. And here you have to remember one thing. The unattended RPA add-on, that is something that is not available under the trial licenses. So if your audience is not equipped, is not granted this RPA unattended add-on, then no one will simply be able to actually execute unattended scenarios. And if that is your case, simply open the lab, go through it, tell the students what unattended scenario is, how to use it, how it is being run, what are its purposes, what is the scenario that you can use it, and briefly just draw the big picture on what the RPA in unattended mode is. But well, obviously, because of the technological boundaries, you're not able to do it and to run it with them. There is one more advice, because the RPA in a day training is not like any other in a day training that we have at Microsoft. So not like Power Apps, not like Power Automate, or like the Power Virtual Agents. Now, why? Because unlikely the other in a day trainings, this one is not actually taking place in the browser, in, let's say, the controlled environment. This one is taking place on the local machine of the specific of each student. And now we just cannot predict, we cannot foresee what kind of applications each student has, what kind of antiviruses, what kind of applications that are like overlaying the desktop with other things. I mean, there can be so many interferences between the existing applications and RPA that it can just easily fail. And then the troubleshooting is not very straightforward. It's not very easy, because sometimes even students don't know what they have installed on their machine or what the policies are enforced on their machines, because that can be their company computer. So if you're not planning on giving them pre-created virtual desktops that you can simply have like an image, and then you provision those virtual desktops out of the image in Azure, and you share the virtual desktops with all the students, but rather you want the bring your own device approach, then my recommendation, the team's recommendation is that you distribute the prerequisite labs with your students at least a week before the labs taking place. And so they just execute these labs, they go through these labs, they install the software, they create the tenant, they set up the environment, they simply do all those prerequisites on their own, and then on a day 0 they simply arrive set up and ready to start the training. Now, another thing that is very important is that another important thing is that if you decide to give those prerequisites to the students a week before, then it is a good practice to organize on a day before the training at least like 1 hour long meeting, online meeting, where you can invite everyone, and then if there are any students having problems with any of the steps from the prerequisites, you can simply be together and then troubleshoot. So the point is that on the day of a training, everyone is really up and running and set up and then just ready to roll. All right, so that's the idea. Another advice that we have, that we learned when we were doing the dry runs and tests with the internal Microsoft employees, is that you can obviously deliver RPA in a day in 2 ways. The first one is the in-person training. That one is much easier because you have your classroom, you have your students in front of you, you see them, you can interact, you can just stand over their shoulders and see what they're doing, what they're clicking, if they have any issues, if they don't have any issues, if everything is going smoothly, right? So there is like much more control, even though you're the only one trainer in the classroom. However, when doing those trainings online, then we recommend you that you have a support from at least 1 additional trainer, maybe 2 even, that are present at a different online meetings, so that if you have any student that has problems with any step in the labs, then simply advise them. If you can't help them like in 5 minutes, then advise them to simply move on to that dedicated troubleshooting meeting with another trainer, and then synchronize them, so of the classroom during the breaks, for example. That is because if you put too much attention to a single student, then you'll abandon all the others, and your training might very easily get dissolved, right? Everyone can just start losing control over the time or focus, and you don't see those students. They're just at their computers at home possibly. So if they lose focus, if they lose attention, then they just might, go and do something else. You have no control over that. So in the case of the online meeting, it's really crucial to have a support from at least one additional trainer who can then help you to handle those issues, those problems, without bothering, without affecting the flow of the whole training. All right, because you have just one day. That's not even a day. It's like 7 hours, and there is, or maybe 8 hours, and there is as well a break for coffee, 2 breaks for coffee, lunch. So circa 6.5 hours you have to deliver those labs. It's not very much time. So just keep that in mind. All right, and then let me just navigate back to the root. So let's go to the trainers package. Now in trainers package, you have the folder with some installers you can put on virtual machines, like the Edge installer or again the Contoso invoices. Plus you have here the PDF files that are really important to you if you decide to first go into this virtual desktop approach. So if you'd like to set up a virtual desktop for each student, then here you have instructions how to do that. And if you'd like to go into the unattended scenario, then as well you can use the Azure Virtual Labs to set up the virtual machines for that purpose, and then just bind them together in a cluster and then show how this unattended scenario works. And lastly, the very important file here is the RPA in a Day Trainers Checklist. Now that document, let me just open it, and hey, this is the document that we created based on all the experiences that we've gained during those dry runs and tests of the RPA in a Day training on our own, internally with Microsoft employees. So here you can find all the lessons learned that we have gathered so far, some hints about the prerequisites, the working with students, time managing, plus the information on troubleshooting around the most common issues and scenarios. So this document is kind of a holy thing for each trainer. We hope that it will give you this peace of mind that even if you run into issues with your students, then it will help you to find answers on how to actually resolve them, right? So keep that in mind. Now, what is also important here is that we count on you. These labs are done, let's say, by the community, for the community. So if you have any kind of problems during the execution of the labs, if your students run into those issues, problems, and you'd like to share, we really count on your feedback. We count on your valuable opinions, on valuable comments on how this RPA in a Day training is performing. What can we make better? What can we improve? What should we change to make it better in understanding, in reading? All right. So whatever feedback you have for us, simply contact me and I will gladly share it with the whole team. So you can just write down the comments below the video or simply go to my blog and there you'll find a contact form. Whatever you do, we really count on what is your feeling about this training, because we really put a lot of efforts, a lot of heart and hours swept into making those labs running very smoothly and errorless as much as we could. All right. So we count on you. We count on the community. That's for you, but we really expect that you will give us the feedback to make it even better. Okay. Now, last thing that we have in the trainers package is the presentation. It is also very important to use it because the presentation here is not only introducing what the RPA is, what the UI flows is, what the Microsoft actually Power Platform is, but it also helps you to control the flow of the labs, control the time, control what the users should be, what they should learn at specific moments. So once you go through the slides and you reach this slide, the title slide, saying, all right, now that's the moment for the labs, you can switch it to your own machine to show how those labs should be executed, but then switch back to the presentation so that it is your guidance, your roadmap, something that keeps you on moving, and as well the students to have this feeling that they know where they are and what is upcoming. All right. And now here is one very important thing that you have to memorize. because for you trainers, there is a lot of things that you have to be aware when doing the training, the RPA in a day training. So our advice is that before you deliver the trainings, just try to do them on your own. Create yourself an environment, create yourself all the flows, or the UI flows, or the processes in automation. Just have those processes, those flows pre-created, so that if you even run into issues when doing them live, you have a backup up and running process already done. So you can just open it and show your students how it should be done. All right. So try the RPA in a day training on yourself before you train someone else. Another thing, go through the presentation, be familiar with the slides, be familiar with the contents, know what is in the presentation, what we'll be talking about, what we expect you actually to say, right? So that once you start the presentation, you're not reading from the slides, but the slides are just behind you, and you're simply presenting the contents. So two things. The first one, create the labs on your own, just go through them. And second one, learn the presentation, learn the flow, learn the information, so you'll be fluent in then showing them to your students. Okay. Wow, there is a lot of things that I would like to say as well, but I think that is really enough. I think that I've said enough, that I did this presentation quite good, describing you what you can expect, what you can see. So, right. With that having said, I just want to ask you once again to share your valuable feedback with us, to share your comments, to share the bugs you found, to share the issues you found and possible solutions, so that we'll be able to update, improve the slide deck, the troubleshooting, the checklist for the trainers and the labs themselves as well, so that this lab is not going to be done once and forever, but it is going actually to be updated anytime there is a new feature, new functionality being released. So as well, stay up to date, be sure that you're as well running the latest available version of the RPA in a day training. And well, if you do have any feedback, share it below the video, or contact me directly. Here you have somewhere in the video as well the links to contact. And yep, subscribe, comment, share this video, spread the word about the RPA in a day training. And I really keep my thumbs very hard that it will be a really good experience for you trainers, that is something you were waiting for a long time, and now we just made your dreams come true, and that you just can't wait as you can do this training for the first time with your community, with your company, with anyone out there for whom you'd like to deliver this training. So good luck with the training. Share the feedback, share your comments, and thank you very much for watching. And that's it. Oh, no, one more thing. If you'd like me to record videos where I'm showing how to go through each lab, please leave me a comment, all right? And I'll gladly do it for you. Again, thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye.